Hello and welcome. I'm really glad you're here. I wanted to just take a few minutes to say hello before we begin this podcast. This is episode 1, and it's going to be on empathy. And just to share a little bit about why I felt called to create this. Empathy is something all of us carry naturally, but it hasn't always been taught in a way that feels supportive and sustainable, especially for those of us who feel deeply. Empathy can slowly turn into that overgiving, exhaustion, or that sense that, we're responsible for holding absolutely everything together. So, this invitation is to look at empathy a little bit differently. I'm going to explore empathy as something that belongs to nature itself, like the quiet network beneath the forest floor, where trees and mycelium support one another without depletion. No one part carrying the whole, everything connected, but still rooted. This isn't about fixing anyone or taking on pain that isn't yours. It's about listening more deeply, about learning to stay open and caring while also staying grounded within yourself. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by other people's emotions or unsure where your responsibility ends and someone else's begins, the space is for you. So after this short introduction, I am going to be short, the podcast will shift into an audio only experience. There'll be some gentle images. You're welcome to listen however feels best for you. Sitting quietly, resting, walking, or just being. There's nothing you need to figure out here. Nothing you need to do. Just listen and notice what feels true for you. I thank you again for being here and being part of this larger conversation about empathy, connection, and how we move forward together. And I suspect we're going to need probably more than one conversation about empathy. It's kind of a big topic. So, without further ado, let's begin.
Being an empath, power, boundaries, and the sacred ecology of connection. Empathy is not rare. It is not a special designation reserved for a few. It is a living current that runs through humanity, through nature, through the web of life itself. We all carry empathy. We all rely on it. And we all participate in its movement, whether we are conscious of it or not. So, the invitation before us now is not to decide who is empathic, but how we participate in empathy as individuals and as a whole. Because empathy is not meant to isolate us, it is meant to connect us forward. Let's talk about empathy as nature. Empathy is not a human invention. It's an ancient relational intelligence found throughout nature. Look to the forest. Beneath the soil, mycelium weaves an intricate network connecting tree to tree. Nutrients, information, and signals move through this system in quiet cooperation. And here is the crucial truth. Neither the tree nor the mycelium depletes the other. There is no martyrdom in the forest. No organism carries the weight alone. Resources move where they are needed. Balance is maintained. Connection is mutual. This is empathy as nature intended it, a shared field, a circulating intelligence, a system that supports life without self-erasure. Empathy is a way of connecting at a soul level. It is the ability to perceive another as a being, not an object. But somewhere along the way, we blurred a critical line. We confused empathy with codependency. Empathy says, I feel you, I see you. Codependency says, I am responsible for you. Empathy allows presence. Codependency demands participation in suffering. We can be deeply present with another's pain without being responsible for that pain, their experience, or their healing. Seeing another person as a person does not require carrying their story inside your body. Now, I'd like to talk about something I call the empath's first wound, when connection loses its balance, if you will. So, for many empaths, the first wound came when connection stopped being mutual, when compassion became self sacrifice. Instead of, I can feel you, it became, I must endure you. The empath stayed too long, gave too much, and learned that goodness meant depletion. Because empaths could feel deeply, they were assumed to be capable of holding endlessly. They became the emotional support beam in rooms never designed to rest on one person. But in nature, no single tree holds the forest. The belief formed quickly. If I feel it, I must fix it. This is where empathy became heavy. But empathy is information, not assignment. It is a signal, not a sentence. Empathy is a resource. And like all resources, how it's used determines whether it nourishes or depletes. The weight of empathy was never meant to fall on one set of shoulders. Empathy moves best when it is shared, circulated, and consciously directed. This is how balance is restored. So let's talk about finding your power. Listening before acting. Empathic power begins with deep listening. Before responding, before helping, before engaging, go inward and ask, is this my feeling or am I sensing someone else's? What is being asked of me here, if anything? What is the wisest form of participation? Sometimes the answer is presence. Sometimes it's prayer, just witnessing, holding the collective with intention. Sometimes it's turning inward to tend to your own healing. All of these are contributions to the universe. Listening itself is an act of service. So how do we stay safe, protected, without walling off? Well, protection does not require shutting down. Defense does not require isolation. True protection is clarity. It is the ability to remain vibrantly present and aware without becoming porous or rigid. This is the solidification of the auric field, not through force, but through coherence. You are not blocking the world. You are meeting it from your center. A grounded empath is willing to rest in the full picture of something, not just the pain, not just the urgency, but the wider field of context, timing, and wisdom. You may feel deeply and still choose to pause, step back, say no, and wait. This is not withdrawal. This is discernment. So let's talk about empathy, humanity, and belonging. Being empathic is part of being human. It is part of being nature. It is a natural gift, a tool, a way of participating in the living world. The question is not whether we have empathy. The question is what we do with it. When empathy is rooted, it connects without consuming. It cares without collapsing. It serves without self-erasure. This is empathy as a living ecology, balanced, wise, and sustainable. So let's return empathy to its natural place. You were never meant to carry the world alone. You were meant to stand in relationship with it. Empathy is not a weight. It is a current. And when you learn how to stand with that current, rooted, aware, and sovereign, empathy becomes what it has always been meant to be: a force for connection, a force for healing, a force that moves us forward together.